come to is that you must have a parley. You and them have to come to terms. And I was taken off of that world. And then I had memories of being on other worlds where there's nothing but women. But the women are being attacked. And I was there with a group of about 9 men. And our mission was to go there and help that world. And we were standing at the top of this mountain. I was like the leader. And there were it was like a formation. 2 guys were behind me, 3 guys behind them. It's like numerical. And we're standing on this cliff. I'm looking down. I'm looking at all these women. And there was one there that I really loved. And I didn't want to leave her. And my commander comes up and said, you know we can't stand here. Stay here. We have to leave this world. And I remember falling backward. You know what those sarcophagus look like in Egypt?
Yeah.
When we fell back, we fell into those things. And then when we were propelled off of that planet, I was able to look back and I could see 9 sarcophagi laying at the top of this mountain.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it sounds like you got some of your, a lot of your even off-world lives, memories of your off-world lives.
Yeah, that's what I'm beginning to think too. I'm really, remember at the ranch, that lady Dolores Campbell? I think I remember her name.
Cannon. Yeah.
Cannon. You remember her?
Yeah.
Yes.
And she said that we had been everything, and that there was a call that went out that the earth was in trouble, and beings from all over, I guess, the universe,
right,
came here to help. I remember those classrooms. I was with one group, and I had graduated, and I was getting ready to come, but I was able to see the classrooms of other beings that had chosen to come here, that were making those choices.
And so those beings were being trained, you're trained before you come here?
Yeah. Yeah. Life here is totally different than it is on some of those other worlds. Totally different. A lot of these, I think the majority out there are humanoid, but then you have other beings out there that don't look anything like us. And they have their own agendas. But we came here for a reason, and that was to elevate the consciousness of this planet.
And how are we doing that?
Okay, it's like what you guys are doing right now. You're bringing information to people. Okay? Jay-Z is doing it. Ramtha's doing it. There are a lot of people out here that are really waking up that there's something bigger than what we have been programmed to think. You know what I mean? I think the whole educational system has been programmed to keep us vibrating consciously within a certain frequency, just to support what we see around us every day. And this is falling apart. And then there are people out here like me, like you, Ramon, like you, Tom, that are having these experiences that say, there's something else other than this. We are not being told the whole truth. So when you are able to do like what you guys are doing, to bring this stuff forward for other people to hear, you are affecting consciousness. You are elevating consciousness. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You are helping consciousness expand itself into something greater than what my parents grew up with and what their parents grew up with. We are slowly beginning to wake up to the fact that there may be something more than this everyday stuff.
So do you think we'll reach the point of critical mass?
Oh, yeah. You can't help it. I've learned that from my elders. How did that start? Okay. Back around 1989, I came out here from Ohio, and I got myself a little business license. I was selling Native American jewelry, artifacts, whatever, at Tacoma Middle School. And when I got there early. I was married. I had 2 stepkids at the time. We got there an hour early. I didn't know anything about it. I just wanted to do it. And my mentor, Ken Littlefish, showed up with his family. And they wanted to, know where the restrooms were. So I was there earlier, so I knew where it was, and I showed it to him. We started talking, and he says, I really like you, and I really like your family. Why don't we put our tables together at this powwow? I said, okay, fine. So we got together, we partied, powwow. And then he invited me to come to some sweats up in Port Angeles. That's where he lived at the time. And I went, and it was like, wow, I found another piece of myself. I don't know if you guys ever been to a sweat lodge, but it's an awesome experience. It was like I found another piece of myself. And about 2 or 3 weeks after that, I'm living in like a 40-foot long trailer, maybe about 8 feet, 10 feet wide. My kids are sleeping. My wife is sleeping. I wake up in the middle of the night, and there's a grizzly bear sitting at the foot of my bed. A grizzly bear.
Hmm.
I knew it was a grizzly bear because of the hump on the shoulder. I've seen enough pictures of grizzly bears and knew that was a grizzly bear, right? And it's just sitting there, staring at me. And I shook my head, I stomped my feet, I pinched myself, and I listened. I could hear my children's breathing. I looked at my wife. She was breathing. And I was looking at the walls. There were no holes in the wall. There were no holes in the floor. I'm wondering how in the heck did a grizzly bear get in my trailer? For real, what the heck is going on? So I went to my mentor. I said, what is happening? He said that the spirit is looking for you, the spirit. And it knows you, and you know it. And it's going to pick the time and the place of your reunion. And then somewhere down the road, Ramtha has a book called UFOs and the Nature of Reality. I don't know if you guys ever heard of that one.
Yes, I have.
And in there, he says, if you believe your spirit guide is the great bear, the sign of the killer whale, or the eagle, you have been contacted by extraterrestrials. That the Native Americans have been in contact with what we call star elders, star people, for a long time. So even though they use these images, you are still dealing with extraterrestrials.
That's very interesting because right before I called you earlier today, I had a big golden eagle flying above my house, right outside my window. I was sitting here at my computer. I have a window right behind my monitor.
Wow, that's awesome.
And I was looking out the window, and there was a big golden eagle just circling around right up above it. I even got my binoculars out and took a good close look at him.
Yeah, there are no accidents.
I knew something was. I knew there was some message coming through.
Yep.
I get downloads. So.
That
Yeah.
That answers.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that answers my my question because I saw in I don't know if it was a hawk or an eagle in New York City, and of course we rarely don't see any. But I had a small little balcony about 10, 15 years ago, and this eagle, or I think it was a hawk, came and sat there in the morning, and I just looked at it and I was like, surprised.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So continue.
Yeah, and so what I've learned from natives is like, how do I explain this one?
No, well, you were talking about the grizzly.
Yeah, and we are not alone on this world, and I never even contemplated me having like grizzly medicine or bear medicine or anything like that, ever. That was not a part of my consciousness. That was something that was brought to me, as a gift. Because one of the reasons I'm here is because you ever heard of a Whippy ceremony?
No,
Only from you during the summer.
Yeah, the Lakota people, the Sioux people, they're known as Whippy people because they have the ability to call up spirits. They can actually call these things to them in ceremony. I've gone to ceremony and I had spirits touch me, talk to me, poke me, scream at me. In some ceremonies, I'm sitting there and I'm singing, and there's other spirits singing with me. Nobody else hears them. And then, this is, we are really going to have to go multidimensional. You exist on all levels. It's just like you have a physical body. Above that body, you have an astral body. Above that level, you have a mental, emotional body. Above that, you got all these bodies, and each one of those bodies connect to a dimension. If you are really open, you can go into those dimensions, and you can meet these beings, or they can come here and meet you, which is basically what has happened to me. One day I was out in Montana. I had bought myself a 4-inch refractor. I was getting interested in astronomy. And it was at the time that Jupiter was the closest it had ever been. That was back around 97, 98. And I would get out of my house, lived on the Flathead Reservation. I would take my telescope out, like, say, 6, 7 o'clock in the evening. About 9 o'clock, Jupiter was directly behind my house. I could look at Jupiter, and I could see 4 of the moons. And my stepson and my stepdaughter, I told them that I was going to, have them stay up late one night because they were going to school at the time. I said, okay, I'm going to set this up, and you guys can come out and take a look at it. And they did. But then I was noticing over to my left side, as I'm looking at Jupiter, to my left, there was this yellow-looking planet. And I swore I could see the rings around it. I thought it was Saturn. So I said, I'm going to take a look at this one day. And then a friend of mine, she had daughters. She had 2 girls. They wanted to take a look at Jupiter. I said, okay, just come by the house one day, and I'll set this up, and your girls can see it. But that same day, I remember, and again, UFOs and the nature of reality, Ramtha said that if you want contact, just go outside, sit by yourself, imagine the triad. The triad is a code. It means 32. And empty your mind and focus on the triad, and these beings will hear you, and they will come, right? Well, I did that. And then I forgot about it because my friend showed up. And then they left, and I was looking at what I thought was Saturn. I said, okay, I had promised my kids I was going to allow them to look at this. So I got them up, set my telescope up. I aimed it at what I thought was Saturn. I'm talking about a 4-inch field. You know what I mean? When you align that star into the center of that telescope, it's going to take it almost 30, 40 seconds before it moves off the field of view, right?
Right.
And I'm sitting there, and I'm watching my son. He got his hands folded behind his back. He just leans over. He looks. He said, Billy, that thing moved. I said, there's no way that thing can move. He said, it moved. It's not there. And I had to think about it for a little bit. I'm sitting here, and I'm looking at him. He didn't bump it. He didn't kick it. He didn't touch it. I said, okay, I'll line it up again. I lined that sucker up, and, man, it went off. It went out of field of view. And I stood up, and it looked like a meteor was coming towards you. You can actually see the tail of the meteor. And then all of a sudden, this thing stopped. It was a solid white light, and there was this solid white disc. I'm saying about 15, 20 miles in length, about 3 miles away from us. Me, my wife, my stepson, my stepdaughter, we all sat there and looked at this thing, completely freaking silent, going from west to east, completely silent, 3 miles away. Well, that night, I was taking on a craft, and there was this being sitting there. He had a solid white robe on, blonde hair, curly, like Romans, beautiful marble skin, beautiful. And telepathically, he said, this is a council of exalted and ascended beings. And I remember looking down this table, and every type of being you can think about was sitting at this table. But the one that grabbed my attention was this guy that had the face of a bat. He was wearing a green and gold toga, but he had the face of a bat. He was sitting there staring at me. And my attention was being drawn between the guy that looked like a Roman and this bat-faced guy. And, whether or not this is real, I know what I experienced.
Did you have a chance to talk to them? What did they say? I mean, I don't think they stopped by just to say hi.
All they told me was that it was a council of intergalactic and ascended beings.